people don't really understand what attachment styles actually are and how to work through them. And honestly, it kind of gets me a little annoyed because there's so much information about attachment styles, what to do, tools, etc., but nobody really understands why they have the attachment style and how to be able to work through them. And that's why I made this little video for you. I'm condensing a lot of knowledge into just a few minutes so that I can help you understand how to eliminate your attachment style, which is really the key thing in having a successful relationship. So, well, first, bring a book and a pen because I'm going to give you a lot of information and you're going to want to write down this stuff so that you can practice it again and again and it's going to be able to help you. Okay, ready? Okay, let's go. Now, the first thing you need to know is that an attachment style is simply a coping mechanism. Okay? It's just a coping mechanism. It's not something that you need to over-identify with yourself with, or you need to like write a title on your forehead. An attachment style is just a coping mechanism. Now, what is this? When a young child lives in an environment, if they don't have their needs met, if they're not getting love or connection or validation the way they need, their mind, their subconscious mind, actually the ego, the protective part, scans the environment and learns or discovers ways to be able to survive in that environment to be able to get their needs met so that this child can learn and survive. This sounds a bit complicated, right? Let me break it down to you. Take an anxious attacher. If you're an anxious attacher, this might be really important for you. When you're in a relationship, what do you want most? You want love, you want connection, you want a sense of someone showing up for you, making you feel important, validating you, any of those things. Now, the truth is, if you rewind your life all the way to when you were a child, which is when your subconscious mind is so active, at that time, where you're learning about yourself, at that time, you would have likely experienced something like rejection, abandonment, or invalidation. And these are what we call core wounds. This may have showed up by an emotionally unavailable parent who you wanted love from them, but they just weren't able to give it to you. This may have showed up as you losing a parent, or you getting rejected by your environment, your parents, your caregivers, maybe even at school you weren't chosen. It may have showed up as you wanting to express yourself, but you're not getting that connection you want from them. All in all, you're not getting love. So you process and you have this wound. But then your creative ego at that point to survive scans the environment and says, I can tell that my father's emotionally unavailable, etc. But when I try to please him, when I go to church with my mom, when I get an A, when I try and throw tantrums, they finally pay attention to me. So in that moment, suddenly, your body, your mind try this out. And then they notice, holy shit, you're right. Mom suddenly pays attention to me when I throw tantrums a lot. So now you start practicing more and more of a dysregulated nervous system, because when you get dysregulated and you throw tantrums, the other person gives you attention. So you feel some morsel of validation or connection or love. When you people please, again, suddenly you notice dad, who's emotionally unavailable, pays attention to you, puts your report card on the fridge, holds you closer. When you go to church with mom, for example, she holds you closer and she loves you, or she talks about you more, and you feel a sense of love. So now you've recognized, your little nervous system at that point has recognized that when I have these behaviors, I notice that I am getting my needs met. And all of these behaviors depict what we ultimately call anxious attachments. So when you're not getting your needs met, you bring out this behavior of trying to cling on to someone, trying to people please, trying to prove yourself to them, trying to give and give and give, all in order to earn love. But this is just a mechanism because there's a baseline underneath, which is the abandonment, the rejection, the invalidation that you're not receiving. Take an avoidant, for example. A lot of people misunderstand avoidance, right? So we'll use them here. When an avoidant was a little child, they probably wanted to express themselves emotionally, go up to daddy for a hug. More likely than not, it's avoidants are represented more likely than not by the male sex. So you have a little boy child who's probably running up to his parents, probably to his dad, to express his emotions, to play, to earn love. And then his dad, who's emotionally unavailable himself, his dad who got his emotions shut down and shamed and whatever else, his dad now shuts down the child. When the child's being emotional and trying to cry or try to share, the dad shames and shuts down the child. It's like, oh my God, he's like, he says, this is not what boys do. This is only what girls do. Like, come on, don't get so needy. Don't start crying. Don't start expressing yourself. Or like, emotions are just for girls, like we just said. And so constantly as that happens, this little child's nervous system realizes that every time I'm going vulnerably in order to earn love, I'm getting shut down and rejected. So what an avoidant does in this case as a coping mechanism, as a surviving mechanism, is he or she runs to their room, shuts their door, and starts playing with their toys because the toys can't emotionally shut them down or reject them. So in this case, the avoidant is also hurting from similar wounds of being rejected, being invalidated, maybe even being abandoned. Maybe having a parent like not show up for them at all, and they've realized, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being vulnerable. It's safer for me in my environment to be obsessed about things that don't reject me or shame me or judge me. And that's how they move into now becoming more avoidant. And this child, as they grow up into an adult, starts obsessed about hobbies, about work. I'll bet you've experienced and seen this either in partners or in yourself, about animals, about travel, about anything else that can't emotionally reject them. But anytime they come close to getting connection with someone, anytime they come close to building a relationship or becoming vulnerable, when emotions come out a little bit, they sense that whole fear that lives in the back of their mind saying, oh my God, this person could really reject me, shut me down, shame me all over again. And so the avoidant in that moment now pulls away because it's too dangerous, but they're also hurting from rejection. So the key thing I wanted to tell you here is no matter what your attachment style is, whether you're anxious avoidant, disorganized, fearful avoidant, whatever you call it, your attachment style are just characteristics. They're just survival mechanisms that come about because deep down inside, in your subconscious mind, there are wounds of being rejected, invalidated, and abandoned. And the problem is that these wounds are the core, are the cause, and they're bringing out the effect, which is the attachment style. But most therapy, most therapists, most like programs, all of that stuff will just talk about your attachment style and what to do and how to fix it. But they won't tell you how to fix this cause, the core. That is what only the best, in my opinion, the best subconscious healers or subconscious reprogramming experts, inner child healers, reparenters will give you, because they know that by fixing and curing the cause, you don't have to have that effect. You have a totally different effect. If you felt love, think about it logically. In your relationship today, if you're an anxious attached or an avoidant, if you felt safe, if you felt loved inside, if you felt considered, you validated whatever else you feel, then you wouldn't be triggered around that attachment. You wouldn't need to cling on to somebody else. You wouldn't need to run away because it seems like they're too much. You'd feel so safe that you'd allow this relationship to flourish and develop. That is what I really want to teach you. And the truth is, if you really want to break down the cause of what's bringing out your attachment style in a functional, proven way, I do all of this work in my 8-week program called the GAUNTLET. We use a proven formula, actually, a CARES process. I'm sure you'll learn about it at some point. But in that CARES, R stands for reparenting. Reparenting that inner child so that your adult self doesn't have to have those mechanisms. And subconscious healing, going into the subconscious mind to heal those wounds so that your coping mechanisms, a coping mechanism is a mechanism you use to cope with a wound, a trauma, something else. But if you don't have those wounds, if you've healed those wounds, then your mechanism doesn't need to exist. So if you want to do this work with me, this really deep, proven, essential work that's deeper than any therapy, there should be a button below in this email that you can click to learn more about the Gauntlet and to sign up. And right now we've got a special that's running for it. But all in all, I just hope you really enjoyed this video and you took something important away, because I don't want you to become just a slave to all of the information that's out there. I want you to be able to make the action and to go to the healing in the right place and instead of spending like months and years on therapy trying to work through your attachment style and just finding that it still exists. And instead working on what's deeper below so that it can eliminate all of your mechanisms. So if you want to work with me on this, click the link below to learn more and to join the Gauntlet ASAP.